Welcome to a new series where we uncover the stories behind the remarkable businesses and partners that bring unforgettable memories to life. Join us as we delve into the world of unique experiences, exploring the passion, inspiration, and personal journeys of the individuals who have made it their mission to curate extraordinary experiences in Yorkshire. Today, we're talking to Layla Grainger from York Terrariums about what it's like to host an experience and the rewards it can bring. So Layla, can you tell us a bit about your journey and what inspired you to start York Terrariums?
Yeah, of course. Ironically, it started from a love of plants. I was working a corporate job in London, and I felt the need to kind of drop down to a 4-day week and do something that felt a bit more hands-on and a bit more creative. And I decided to study a horticultural course for that one day. And it was one of the best things I did. I'd always loved plants, but hadn't had a chance to really learn more about the history and the science and kind of how, the biology behind them. And the horticultural course was brilliant. I loved it. And after that, I ended up working with a friend of mine called Emma, who was kind of making these terrariums. And I'd been kind of introduced to the concept of a terrarium through the course. And I was fascinated with these kind of self-sustaining ecosystems and how they worked. And so with Emma, we started running these workshops around London. And when I moved to York 3 years ago, I just knew whatever I was doing with work, I really wanted to bring that element of workshops up to the north and kind of share this knowledge and this passion with a new kind of audience. And that's how York Terrariums started.
So what is your vision for the business now you've kind of been going for a few years?
I think it started off as making terrariums, and terrariums are obviously always going to be the center of the business, and I will continue to do that. And I think the workshops have obviously always been a really big part of the business, but the way that's kind of changing is I'm looking more at how workshops can kind of complement other events that other people are doing, other small businesses are doing. So whether that's like a launch event or working with universities, we've done some really nice workshops over Freshers Week, seeing how including this kind of fun, creative element of a workshop can really enhance what anyone else is doing. I really like the collaborative part of running workshops, and if I can do that with other businesses and other independents, that's kind of exciting for me.
So what can participants expect when they come on a terrarium making workshop with you?
Yeah, I think hopefully I like to think of the workshops as both fun and informative. I think for me, it's quite important that both are together. I really like to start the workshops with a bit of history about terrariums, so people learn, how did they start? How did they come about? Who created the first terrarium and why? And then really thinking about the science, how these ecosystems survive and thrive. And I think it's important for people to understand what it is they're making, and that kind of creates a new fascination or interest in whatever it is they're doing. So we always start with that kind of element. And then there's obviously the fun part. It's rolling up your sleeves, putting your hands in compost, playing around with the plants and getting creative. I think there's something really mindful about making terrariums. And often people say after the workshop, they really enjoyed the experience because they were so focused on one thing for those few hours and they'd forgotten all about what they were thinking of, their list of to-do lists that they needed to do. And they spent that time really focusing on one kind of craft, which is really nice. So we do all that. And then at the end, I'll always talk about aftercare and maintenance. So thinking about how to make sure your terrarium survives for the next few months and years, and everyone's kind of got their care guide ready to support them when they go home to make that happen.
So experiences, as we both know, make incredible gifts, and at Uniquely Local, we're really passionate about providing memorable experiences for all occasions. Layla, in your opinion, why do you think experiences make such great gifts? And can you share any memorable stories as of how an experience gift has made a real lasting impact on someone?
Yeah, I think there's something special about gifting an experience. I think you're really gifting a memory or a feeling or even a new skill. For, like the example of the terrarium workshops, the idea is after the workshop, everyone has learnt the basic skill of how to create a terrarium, and then they go off and experiment and develop and work on that skill themselves, which I think is really wonderful. And physical gifts are great, but they tend to have a shelf life, whereas when you're gifting an experience, that's something that people can keep with them for a long time. And I've had people come to the workshop and say, you know, I enjoyed this so much and I can't wait to make more at home. And that to me is like the ultimate, that they will then continue that process. They'll kind of build on the knowledge that they've learned at the workshop and kind of take that on elsewhere. So yeah, I think gifting an experience is something special.
Yeah. And if there was anybody out there considering setting up an experience or hosting a new experience in their business, what advice would you offer them? What are some key factors that they might need to consider, or lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think, firstly, I'd say just do it. I don't think there's enough experiences, especially up in the north, and there's a real demand for them. You can see across the country that there's a real increase of people wanting to book these kinds of things. I think some helpful things are maybe to think about, or putting yourself in the shoes of your participant, whoever is coming to this experience. What is it that they are hoping to gain from the experience? What do they want to feel before, during, and after? And that kind of helps you to kind of clarify your offer. I think how they feel through that experience is really important. And when you're thinking from their point of view, it helps you to kind of curate it a bit clearer, I guess. And I think don't be afraid to collaborate with other people. If you have an idea and you don't really know how to get it going, the idea is like the most important thing. It's the beginning. And then I'm sure you'll find by reaching out to others, there might be people who can offer space. There might be people who have contacts ready to come to a workshop, whatever it is. But don't feel like you're doing it alone. So I think the best experiences are when you can work with other businesses to kind of curate something special, which takes a little bit of all of those businesses and makes something different.
What would you say is the most fulfilling aspect of running York Terrariums? What do you enjoy most about it?
I think it's been really, obviously I moved from London to York and it was a new community and I didn't know many people. But through this business, it's been an amazing way to meet other local businesses and to kind of collaborate and support them, whether that's through use of venues or other kind of projects we've collaborated on. And I really love that. But I also think it's quite interesting that a lot of people come to the workshop as individuals. They may have been bought a ticket as a guest, as a gift from someone, or they've come because they're just interested and they've booked on as an individual. And you often see them coming a little bit hesitant, not really sure what they're coming for. And it can be quite nervous turning up somewhere on your own and not knowing what's going to happen. But it's really nice because I think the atmosphere in a workshop is quite relaxed. It's not like a networking event. It's very informal. But as people are kind of getting crafty and pottering away with those terrariums, they start to naturally just talk to each other. And you'll see a table of people who came as individuals kind of starting conversations, learning about where they live, and they might have a mutual friend in common, or things you'd never really expect. And you find that at the end they've created this terrarium and they're really proud of it and they leave. And I think for me that's like the ultimate, that someone has come in kind of a little bit hesitant and unsure. And yes, they've produced something that's beautiful, but they've also had a really wonderful experience. And for me, it's probably like the most fulfilling part.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Layla, and sharing your experiences and the story behind the business. And thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.